Hello, everyone. This is Dawn Mathis, and this is To Your Greatness, our podcast. Today we have a guest. Her name is Vauna Davis, and she is a certified life coach, and she specializes, I love this, she specializes in midlife confidence. Whew. And I know some of you are like, well, that's an oxymoron. Well, it doesn't have to be. And that's why Vauna's here. She's going to talk to us a little bit. Let me just go into her bio a little bit for you. So Vauna has always known how to work hard and get things done. Sounds like a lot of us out there. And from the outside, everything looked like she was doing pretty well in life and everything was calm. But what she was dealing with was something called high functioning burnout. Dealing with difficult feelings by working harder, but you know what? Those feelings just didn't go away. And it wasn't until she worked with a coach who could help her see into her own head, teach her how to take charge, and help her think in ways that served her better. And now she does that for other women. Vauna Davis. Vauna, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks, Dawn. I appreciate being here. I look forward to this.
And when I was looking at your website, I saw in the middle of your top toolbar there, it said the Midlife Purpose Project course.
Right.
I love that. I love those kinds of things. Midlife Purpose Project. Words that as women, especially the word project, we all are very familiar with. But tell us, what is the Midlife Purpose Project course?
Well, there are so many of us who hit midlife. And like you mentioned before, we like to call it a midlife crisis. Mm-hmm. And I like to think of it as, let's find our midlife confidence. And so much of that revolves around, what is my purpose now when so many things are changing? And maybe the things that kept us so busy for many years aren't there, or they're different now. And so I was running into a lot of women who are questioning, what do I want to do with my life now? Feeling restless, feeling unsettled. And so that was the issue I wanted to resolve with this course, looking at, well, how do we find what our purpose is, and how can we make that process very practical? I also wanted to make it less overwhelming. I don't know about you, Dawn, but yes. There are times when it just feels so big to figure out what your purpose is.
Right. Yeah, we have to take it in small bits. So if someone comes to you and says, Vauna, the kids are gone. I think you're a mother of 4, right?
Right.
And your kids are out of the house now, yeah?
Yep, they're all grown up.
That's a tough one. So if someone comes to you that had a similar thing. I mean, her identity was wrapped up in raising her children and making sure they became upstanding citizens and they got to school, and now they're maybe getting married and you have grandkids. What is one of the things that you tell women that come to you and they are feeling overwhelmed and saddened maybe because their identity is no longer, they're kind of free floating, it seems, at least when I've talked to them. It's like, there was a therapist that once said, if you are what you do and you don't, then you're not.
Or yeah, that's really good.
I like to say, if you aren't what you did anymore, are you not? It's just like, what are we? Who are we? So what would be a couple of the first things then that you would tell women that come your way with a similar background that you've had?
Well, I think you really landed on it. Like, it starts with identity. And I believe that purpose integrates who we are with what we do. And so you have to know who you are first. So much of the course that I created, the Midlife Purpose Project, like it the first thing to do is figure out who you are and who you want to be. So we go through a lot of exercises about, well, what's your personality? And what are the top 3 elements of your personality that you really want to build and capitalize on? What do you want people to know about you and notice about you? Your values, your talents and skills, life experiences. Are there life experiences you've had that completely prepared you to maybe help other people through a similar situation?
Yeah.
What do you already have a passion that you're really feel a calling to or not? And just all of those things first, so that since a purpose expresses who you are, you really want to know who you are and who you want to be now.
Yes, I totally agree. I'm taking a 2-year certification in equine coaching. I just started it.
Fun.
Yeah, just because I've always wanted to do something with horses, and for whatever reason, worked all the time and didn't do anything. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. But yes, values is so the coach I have is like, what are your values? Yeah, and here I am. I'm a life coach. I'm saying it right now. I'm on the air and I'm saying I'm a life coach. And I could say a handful, but she said, I want you to come up with a page and then boil it down to 10. And then I want you to boil it down to 4. And it was unbelievable how difficult it was for me. And some people, those techie women out there might go online and say, I'm going to Google values and then I'll just pick from that list. Well, that's cheating. I think just ask yourself, your inner self, what are my values? And when we ask the question like that to ourselves and then listen for the answer will come. And the answer did come. I came up with 52. And, I'm working on that. That's one of my assignments. And I totally agree with you. And one of my mentors says that our values guide our thoughts.
Yeah. It sounds like you're really going through this process that we're talking about even now. And I love that because our life purpose unfolds over time. We don't figure it out all at once.
Yeah. It's so true. And just taking it in stages. I mean, it's not like making 4 kids lunches for the next day and, you're done. It's much slower and more purposeful than that. And the limelight and the spotlight is on ourselves. And do you think sometimes that's hard for us as women? I will be very frank with you. I've only had 4-legged kids. So that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
But I remember how my mom was, and she just felt a little lost when we were all gone. She couldn't wait for us to leave, and then when we did,
right,
then she was like, "What am I going to do with the rest of my life?" And she figured it out. But
right,
yeah,
I think that's true of so many mothers, is that they can't wait for that time when they'll have more time for themselves, but they've spent years and years and years practicing putting other people first, and then they feel so guilty spending any time, any resources on themselves. Yeah, that's a thing that it's something that I do hope a lot of women get past, so that they can get on with what they really want to do next.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. Life is designed, and I think it's divinely designed for us to have this phase. Like, we were not generally meant to be involved in the same things, whether that's parenting or even the same job for our entire lives. We get this phase of our life where we get to like integrate everything that we've experienced and do something really profound with it.
Yeah, I agree. So would you say that when you're working with women that are coming out of this, now what do I do phase? Like the little chicken that breaks out of the egg. You've seen the poster, and he looks at the camera and he's like, now what? What do I do now? I love that poster, and I think it's us sometimes. It's like, what's next?
One of the things that I wanted to do in this course is to make it less overwhelming. There's actually something called purpose anxiety that researchers have defined, which is like we talk so much about finding your purpose or your calling or your life mission, and it feels so big and important that we just get stalled and are terrified to make a decision. We think we have to understand it all at once and see it and just feel it and know what it's going to be. And I just think that's really a myth of how it works.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, I think it unfolds, and I think it can start with very small things. So in the course, I talk about micro missions.
Ooh.
So instead of like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep thinking about this until my life mission is revealed to me, let's just come up with something that sounds really fun and doable but not overwhelming, and do it for 6 weeks, or do it for even 1 day, or do it for 3 months, and just know from the very beginning this is kind of a self-discovery experiment, something fun, but also has all the 3 elements of purpose. And I feel like every good purpose has these 3 elements.
Yeah, what are those?
The first one is that it helps you grow in some way. So there's a self-development aspect of it. The second one is that you help others in some way. And the third is that you really care deeply about it. And those things set purpose apart from just entertainment. It's more than just finding something to occupy your time. More than just like getting all your photos organized or cleaning out your garage, which I often hear women say they just can't wait to do, which is fine. But I think that purpose has like a bigger vision to it. I don't know. How do you feel about your own purpose? Can you see how those 3 things kind of
I totally
come out through it?
I mean, and these are very similar to the aspects of what a dream is or what a vision is. Yeah, and I mean, I think, and yes, I've cleaned out my closet many times, and photos not so much, but but yeah, there's things that I want to do, and I love my house to look nice, and I love to organize and have my office organized, and and things like that. But those are to-dos. Those are tasks, and I love what you said about the elements of purpose being something that helps you grow, it helps others in some way, and it's something that you care about. And I think you need all 3, because action is not always the easiest thing for us to do, especially if we're not sure about this whole finding our purpose thing.
Right.
And sometimes I think, well, my partner is retired, and she has been retired for 5 or 6 years, and I just remember her going, "Oh, I'm just waiting for you to come home so I can have something to do," and I'm just like, "Oh God," and she hadn't found her purpose yet. She hadn't found it. And there's things that we love to do together, and spiritual things, and have people over and help people out, and things like that. But yeah, she hadn't discovered her purpose. And mine, I'm still going strong. I'm still working, and now I have this course at the age of 62. That's a 2-year course that I'm taking to add equine into my coaching.
I love that so much.
Equine
Like
and
it's just, yeah.
Gestalt, which I'm like gonna learn what that is exactly, but
Uh-huh.
yeah. And so she, so here she is thinking, well, you're 62, 3 more years, and I'm like, oh no, I'm just getting started.
Right. Isn't that wonderful that today we realize we don't have to stop? We can keep contributing, keep being involved in the world, keep enjoying all of this.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes you have to have gray hair or nobody will listen to you. So I I really love your three tenets of purpose. I think that's very helpful, and I love also, and I use that word too. Well, 2 words: fun,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an experiment. It's an
Yeah.
experiment. You don't have to like write it in stone or stamp it in your concrete driveway or anything. It's just an experiment. Just try
Yes.
it. It's kind of like my least favorite thing to do. It's like going to the store and trying on outfits. It's
Uh-huh.
you're trying on a purpose. You're trying on a passion. You're trying on a life to see how it feels, how it fits,
Mm-hmm.
or would it be great, but you just want to tweak it or have it
Mm-hmm.
tailored this way. Um,
That's
yeah.
why I love the idea of micro missions and thinking of it as temporary,
Mm-hmm.
a temporary, like you said, an experiment or experience to see what does feel good. What do I want to keep? What do I want to leave behind? What do I find out I don't like? And totally have permission to run into some dead ends. I remember at one point, I had wondered if I wanted to go back and get a teaching degree and be a teacher. And
Mm.
I substitute taught for a while, and I found out for sure I did not want to go back and be a teacher. And that was fine. I'm glad I had that dead end because then I never had to wonder later, oh, I wonder if I should have been a teacher.
Yeah.
But I just found out I loved being with the kids, but I did not love keeping them on track all day long and
Mm.
having to follow the policies of the education system, and all of that didn't
Oh yeah.
fit for me. So
Yeah. You can be with kids and enjoy kids without going through all the politics and policies and procedures and disgruntled parents and discipline and all that stuff that goes with being a teacher. So I think it's
yeah,
great.
I
So,
would
and
totally give credit for teachers
oh my
who
gosh,
do that because we need them, but
we
it
do.
wasn't for me.
Well, but that's great that you did that little micro mission because you
Mm-hmm.
realized that you value kids. You just don't want to teach them, not
Mm-hmm.
in a formal sense. And and you're right. Had you not taken that micro mission or that simple small action step, you would
Mm-hmm.
never know, and you might be second guessing yourself the rest of your life because you did not try it on.
Right. It
So,
answers a question in your mind that you can just put that
absolutely.
to rest. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
it's never wasted time. People are afraid they'll waste time. Nothing that you engage in with an intention to go help people and see how you can get involved and any of that, it's not wasted.
Right. And so you're
Yeah.
talking about intentionality,
Mm-hmm.
going forward with intention, being going on a discovery, um, having an experiment, trying on a possible future or a possible passion. I love that.
Yeah.
So a lot of women, um, and maybe you, and for sure me, this would describe me at one point. We get stuck, and we're not sure how to become unstuck with, I mean, just feeling like we're stopped, like there's no juice, there's no gas in the tank. And maybe that's what you meant by the high functioning burnout. Um, and sometimes I feel that with myself. And what would you say to someone that maybe is just like, you know what, I have nothing left, I have no gas in the tank, and they're in that burnout stage? What is something that you do to help them refuel?
We always look inside. What are they thinking? It's always our thoughts about the situation that are creating some feeling that is then leading us to feel burned out. And that's kind of the opposite of what we've been told by the culture. Often you'll hear self-care suggestions like go take a bubble bath or eat chocolate or whatever. Those are nice experiences.
Sure they are.
But they don't get to the issue that is creating the feeling of burnout or being drained or whatever that is. And so whatever circumstance we're in, maybe we can change it. But if we can't change it or we don't want to change it because there's reasons that we want to keep that circumstance, we can work on our thoughts. And that is where I just see the most powerful work. That's what helped me. It's where I help so many women think about it in a new way, see how they're creating the experience that they have right now with their thoughts. And that's never about blame.
Right.
It's always about, let's take our power back, because that's the best news in the world. If you can change the way you feel with the way that you're thinking, then you don't have to wait for other people to change. You don't have to wait for circumstances to change. Right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I totally agree with all that. So, clarity. How do you, how important do you think clarity is in this process with your project for women?
You might be surprised at this answer, but I don't think it's important.
Clarity's not important?
Clarity, we give it so much power, thinking that we can't move forward until we can see our path clearly. And I don't think the path becomes clear until you start taking those first steps. And you might just see the next few steps. And then the more, it's like we talked about, the more experience you have, the more you understand, this is what I feel good about, this is what I don't. And then things become clearer and clearer over time. But you don't have to have clarity to get started.
Well, I think part of the challenge is the different definitions of clarity. For me, clarity,
it's a broad word.
Yeah, it is. It totally is. And so, in my work, it's what would you love is kind of our mantra. What would I love? What would I love? And then, like you said, you do some self-discovery, which I love that you said that. And the clarity for me is in the what, not the how. Because if we had to wait around, if we had to depend on the how to determine what our what is, we would never really grab the passion or the purpose that we want, because we can't figure out how to do it. Well, part of the definition of a vision, at least in my training and my belief, is that your business is not the how, it's the what.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I may quote a scripture that I absolutely love because it fits right into this in the Holy Land, which I had the gift of visiting right before COVID, February 2020. It's such a rocky place, and I'm just like, how did these people do this back then? And I went with a mentor of mine and some other people. We went on a pilgrimage, and she said that what they used to do, their mission, their vision was to take care of their sheep and keep them safe. And they did it at night because it was so flippin' hot. And so they had foot lamps on their feet, and they could only see the very next step. And I remember she quoted a scripture, and I don't know where it is exactly, but it was, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet." So your purpose is the what. The how comes exactly like you said. When you take a step, the next step is revealed. So for me,
I love that image so much.
yeah, thy word is a lamp unto my feet. So our what is a lamp. Our what with our action steps, with like what you were talking about, that's the lamp unto our feet. And it's just one step at a time. We don't know we don't know how. If we knew how, it's a worthy goal. A vision, you don't know how. So vision and purpose, I don't know, I use them synonymously. Maybe it's not a great idea, but...
No, I think there's so many beautiful words like our destiny or legacy or all kinds of things that refer to the same thing.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And also, I will say that my course does help women get out of confusion and make some decisions. And I suppose you would call that clarity. Maybe I wasn't thinking of it that way.
Yeah.
But to your point, for example, here's an example of a micro mission someone might do.
Sure. Love to hear it.
Let's say that they decided they've had a life experience about a family member who's had a chronic illness. And so I help them see, okay, for this micro mission, I want to, like you said, the what. I want to help families thrive when a family member has a chronic illness, and then help them narrow it down. Who do they want to help? Maybe they could decide they want to help mothers who have an autoimmune disease and they're raising children and teenagers right now. And they see a need that they can, they see a need they can fill, that these moms get discouraged and they need support. So that's a great what, and that is more clear, of, okay, now that I know my what, I can start to take those steps into how.
Yeah.
Can I do something small for that group?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my other statements I love, and it's not mine, I borrowed it from somebody, but I have long forgotten who it came from, is that progress is more important than perfection. Just take a step. Doesn't have to be big. It can just be a tiny shift, but it makes all the difference.
Yeah, momentum comes when we start moving.
Right.
We never get that momentum just sitting still.
Right. You have to overcome inertia. Learn that in physics. That's not all I remember about physics. But inertia and friction. So I love what you're saying. Why is it so important for women in midlife to do this work, to do the discovery work with you, would you say?
I really believe we just have this drive to keep growing, and we will feel unfulfilled and dissatisfied if we don't answer it. And we can even be very happy in our lives and have lots of things that we're grateful for. For example, I love my 4 grown-up children. I have, my husband and I have been married 39 years, and we're very happy together. I'm really involved in my faith. I have all of these good things. And sometimes women will look at that and say, I feel guilty. I should be so happy and I should be feel so fulfilled because I have all this thing. But there is something in us that says, I feel like I'm made for more. I feel like I have more to give. And that will always feel unanswered. There will always be this restlessness, this unsettledness if we don't answer that call. Absolutely. And I do believe it's like we're here to grow, and we keep growing the whole time we're here.
I totally agree with that. I don't think that when we're done raising kids or whatever we've done or done with one career that we're done. If you're still on this planet, there's a purpose for your life. There's and I believe God, the divine, the universe, whatever you call that higher power, that it calls us to evolve into a higher, even higher version of ourselves than we are. And if another quote, if we just sit around laying around in a pile because we're done raising kids or we're done with our job, we're either growing or we're dying, is the bottom line. And I like to say it this way, the next step after ripe is rotten. So keep growing. Keep growing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So let me ask you, if I may, a personal question. So what led you to this work? What led you to working with midlife women specifically?
I went through it myself. Well, I'm 60 now, and midlife, it's such an interesting definition. You ask people what they think midlife is. Traditionally, you would think kind of 40 to 60-ish, but it's more of a stage than an age, right?
Well, the closer you get to 60, the more midlife is 70 or 80.
Yeah. But actually, researchers out there are actually saying we have a second midlife now because we live so much longer. And so maybe 60 to 80 is the second midlife. And so we get to do this process a lot, figuring out what we want to do next. And, I had gone through it for 20 years myself and saw it in my friends and just felt like, oh, there's just such a need here. And such untapped potential in women of a certain age. They have so much to offer. And I do see some women who feel like they're just getting through day to day now. Like they don't have a longer goal. It's like they love their grandkids and, they're involved with their church or the things that come their way, but they haven't really thought about what about my personal expression, my stamp to leave on the world.
Absolutely. I so agree with you, and I think the work you're doing is wonderful work, and someone asked me the other day, so you're having a life coach on your podcast, and you're a life coach. Isn't that like a dumb idea? And I just, my feeling is that we all have people that resonate with the way we show up in the world, the way we coach, the way we are. For instance, somebody may not relate to me. I didn't raise 4 kids. I was one of 4 kids, but that's, it's different. And if someone wants someone that resonates with or has had a similar experience, I want people to know those people, which is why, Vauna, I wanted you on the podcast was great, because there's plenty of people out there, and I just, and you have, I've interviewed a few other life coaches as well, And you have like one gentleman, I was on his podcast actually. He was a spiritual leader at a church. I love the fact that you have a faith basis in your coaching. I think it's important. It's important that people know, we're not, it's not woo woo that we're trying to teach. It's about you. And
I love
there's,
that.
you know what? We're all different and we all have different experiences, and there's plenty of people to choose from out there. But I just want to tell you, I love your website. I love your story, and I love the way, the soft, calming way that you come across with how you work with people, how you work with women.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I totally agree that we need lots of life coaches or all kinds of healers who can relate to somebody, because we're all so unique and we need certain type of care and attention
Absolutely.
that resonates with us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Vauna, I wanted to ask you, is there something on your heart that you would like to share with us? Maybe a question that I didn't ask that you'd want to answer right now? Is there something you would like to say to the women that are listening to the podcast?
I'd love to share that I just have this vision of thousands and thousands of women in midlife who are just carrying out thousands of micro missions around the world and just bringing so much light and love into the world. These are really challenging times, and we're needed. And I just feel like it'd be so rewarding and fulfilling for each woman to just carry out like one micro mission after another as they figure out what their role is, what they can find meaningful to do. Because I truly believe, like bees in a beehive, if everybody just does their little part, it just changes everything.
Changes the world. One micro mission at a time, for sure.
Right.
So, Vauna, if people want to reach out to you, your website is vaunadavis.com, and Vauna is spelled Vauna, Davis, Davis, vaunadavis.com. You also have a podcast.
It's the Midlife Confidence Podcast.
Okay. And they can find that on Spotify and all regular platforms.
All the regular platforms.
Okay.
My course is on the website as well, and I'm on Instagram at Vauna Davis.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we'll have all that information in our show notes for all our listeners, because some people, like me, drive a lot, and we listen to these things, and we don't want to stop and grab a piece of paper necessarily while we're navigating traffic with maybe grandkids or four-legged furry kids in the car. So we will have that in our show notes for everyone. Vauna Davis, everyone. Vauna, I want to thank you again for your time, your talent. I can tell that you have a wonderful light about you, and I'm just glad there's people in the world like you, and like you said, especially during these difficult times. So thank you so much for being with us. Well, everyone, that concludes another awesome episode with another awesome guest. And this is To Your Greatness with Dawn Mathis. I am Dawn Mathis. And take care, be safe, and love each other. See you next time. Bye-bye.